we're going to pretty much work from the pattern with this project. This is a really fun project to do. It's not going to take that long, and these make really great gifts. So this is like just a fun, easy cotton boho bag with this really pretty tassel here. So we're going to start with the bottom. It's work bottom up. I'm going to show you how to do the magic ring to start, and then we're just going to kind of work our way up. Of course, I'm not going to be able to make the whole thing with you, but I definitely want to show you all of the elements. So then we're going to do this stitch, which is the chicken foot stitch. And I'm going to show you how to make the straps, and then we're going to work around this little wooden ring to make the tassel and this closure here. So let's go ahead and switch the camera view, and I'm going to show you a few of the materials that we're going to use. Like I said, the pattern is in the link if you don't already have it, so you can work along with me. And please feel free to ask me any questions that you might have throughout. Are we switched? Okay, cool. So here's some of the yarn that we're using. This is a Premier Home cotton. I love this one because it's got 85% cotton, and it's got a little bit of polyester, which makes it a bit softer and sort of easier to work with than just 100% cottons. And we've got lots and lots of fun colors, solids, and also these fun colorways, and you can find those at Michael's. And as always, all these patterns are free over at Premier Yarns as well. So let's just jump right into it, you guys. I'm so glad you're here with me to crochet this fun bag. Let's start with a magic ring. This is how I make it. It takes a little getting used to, but once you get it, it's a really good skill to have. So hopefully you can see me okay. I just put this over my hand like this, right? So the short end is over the front like that, and the long end that's attached to the ball is over the back. And then I just wrap it around my two fingers over like that. And then I just sort of rotate a little bit, grab that one with my pinky. And this is the position you want to start out with. I got my 5mm hook here, but of course you're going to use whatever hook you get your gauge with. And then I'm just going to insert that under the first strand and grab the next strand, pull it under, and then you just sort of rotate and twist that to make kind of like a chain, and grab it. And there you've got your magic ring. That's it. And then you can pull this and it will loosen or tighten, okay? So let's go to the pattern. We're going to start out with that magic ring, and we're going to make 6 single crochets into that ring. You can pull this tail. You can work over the tail or pull it out. It doesn't really matter. Let me show that magic ring one more time a little faster though, just in case you missed it. So we're going to put the short end over, wrap that around, rotate, go under the first one, grab the next one, and then just twist to make a chain. It's really simple once you get the hang of it. And it's a great skill to have. These bags, when you want like a nice solid base for your bag, it's always good to start with a magic ring because you can tighten it and get it completely closed so you don't have any holes in your work. So let's just start with working 6 single crochets right into the center of the ring. So that's 1, 2, 3, and I'm working right over the tail. That's how I usually do it. 4, 5, and 6 single crochets. So see, I have this big ring. You just grab your tail here and pull it, and all those stitches come together. Like that.
So Liz, we do have a couple of questions. Someone says they're on row 25 and it's all hexagonal. Is that normal? I know that's ahead of where we're at.
Row 25 and it's hexagonal. Oh, yes, 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 that's normal. And I'll show you what mine looks like because I actually did, I worked a lot of the bottom so you can kind of see how to do a ring like this. And yes, that will happen. And that's because of the way the increases work. But this is a, when we do a circle like this in crochet, when we do it in continuous rounds, so we're not ever joining, we're just working around and around and around without joining. In order to make this circle not go up into like a bowl or a tube, you have to keep increasing to expand your stitches. Because if I kept going 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, I would just have a long tube. So I have to increase in intervals, like, even intervals, in order to make it expand and stay flat and not turn into a tube. And those little increases sort of make points, which causes that hexagon. The only way you can avoid that is to sort of change around where your increases are, like do them in different areas so they don't sort of stack up on each other. But it doesn't matter when you're making a bag. It's going to go up into a bag anyway. You're not going to notice that the circle is a little hexagonal. But if you need something where you need like a perfect circle, there is a way to do it. And that's just to stagger your increases, if that makes sense. But this way to make a circle is my favorite way because it's kind of like formulaic. So once you do it a few times, you don't really have to have a pattern. You can make the same circle over and over, and it's going to turn out the same way every time. You're increasing at very like calculated intervals. So let me grab a little stitch marker. Whenever you're working in continuous rounds like this, you need to have your stitch marker because you're not joining, you're never going to know where the beginning of or the end of the round is, right? So here's my 6 single crochet. Hopefully you can see that okay. I'm going to put my stitch marker in the 6th one, right? That's going to mark the last stitch of my round. You can mark the first or the last. I just always mark the last. That's just how I do it. I don't think it matters as long as you mark the beginning or end of the round. So we did 6 single crochet. Now the next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each one of those 6 that we just made.
I'm just going to hop in and say for people who are maybe watching this later, if you don't get that ring on the first time or the second time, do go back and watch the recording afterward. I popped the link in the chat, and perhaps use this time while we're live to just take notes, try to absorb it, and then you can go back and do it yourself and pause it if you need to go back and forth as you needed.
Right. You're not going to get it the first time. It takes practice, but once, like anything else, once you get the hang of it, you'll love it. Trust me. It does take some practice though. Okay. So how many did you, okay. So somebody said, how many did you chain? I just started with a magic ring, so I didn't have to chain anything. And then we worked, you can also make a ring with a chain, right? So you like chain 5 and then you slip stitch and then you start working into that chain that you formed a ring with. But that's going to leave a little hole. So if you really don't want a hole, you use the magic ring technique. So here's my first single crochet. I'm just going to go directly into there with 2 single crochets. So that's 1 and that's 2. I started out with 6. So I'm going to put 2 in each one. Here's my next single crochet. I'm going to add 2. Here's my next single crochet. I'm going to add 2. So of course I should have 12 because I'm adding 2 single crochets. I'm working 2 single crochets into each 1 single crochet. Here's 2. And now here's my last stitch and it's marked. So I know it's my last. I have to work 2 into that last stitch. 1 and 2. Okay. Now, of course, I have to mark my last stitch that I made, but if I counted these, I should have 12. Now for my next round, we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2, 1, like that. And let's do that really quick. And then I'll kind of explain. Remember, I'm not slip stitching or joining. I'm just going to start right out in the next stitch and work 2 single crochets, which is my increase. 2, and then this one only has 1. And this one has 2. And the next one has 1. The next one has 2. And the next one has 1. 2. 1. 2, 1. And you should always end on the 1, right? 2, you won't end on an increase. That's the increase. And then my last one is just 1. Where my marker is. And then I'm gonna mark that last one. Okay, so now I have 18. Now for the next, and this is where I say it's kind of like a very specific calculation. For the next round, I'm going to start out the same way. Increase, so 2 single crochets there, and then I'm going to do 2. So a single crochet and a single crochet. Increase, single crochet, increase, and then do that all the way around. And then for the next round, it's going to be increase, 3 single crochets all the way around. And then the next round, it's going to be increase, 4 single crochets all the way around. Increase, 5 single crochets. So that's the formula. So you kind of don't even really need the pattern after, I mean, you need the pattern for the rest of the bag, but you'll notice that these flat circles, pretty much across the board, this is how it's done for most patterns. If you do a lot of patterns, you'll see this a lot. You just do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it goes all the way up to 20, right? So if you continue in that formula, you'll get a nice flat circle. Here is mine. So now this is what somebody was saying about the hexagon. You can see exactly where there's a hexagon, right? I mean, this is just a round circle, but my edges are more rounded. But that's just because this is where the increases happen. So each round they kind of skew over like this. So they're not completely stacked up on top of one another. You can see it even better here. So you can kind of see where those increases happen. And that's fine. That's just the way it is. If you did it a little, you could make a perfect circle, but for most projects, we don't need a perfect circle, and it's a little bit more tedious to do it that way. So for this, we're just doing that normal kind of common formula. As
All right.
you can see here, if you can see me on the other camera here, I'll show you. Here's the
yeah,
bottom of my bag. Yeah, here's the bottom of my bag, and then it just starts going up, right? So now what happens is we work even. So we stop increasing altogether, and then it just forms a tube. That's what happens naturally.
So we do have some more questions.
Okay.
First question was, can you go over when making projects like the Hobo bag, if it's better to use cotton, acrylic, or a blend, and why?
Okay.
Let's
start with that one.
Yeah.
So it's always good to use cotton for anything that's that you want a nice sturdy finished product. So cotton is really great for bags because you can easily throw it in the washer and dryer, and it's going to hold its shape. And it also makes just sort of a denser fabric. So yeah, I always use cotton for bags. You can also use something called raffia, which is like, it's almost like plastic, but you can definitely use acrylic for bags. It is also pretty durable and sturdy. Wool is kind of like a little bit too delicate, and I would stick to like sweaters and accessories for wool. But yeah, cotton's always going to be a great option for bags, and also the ones that have a little bit of a blend of acrylic or polyester in them are to me easier to work with. Those are a good option also.
Okay. We also have a question about it, should it be loose or are you trying to make it tight?
Well, don't make it so tight where it's like gonna drive you bonkers and you're gonna hate doing it. But just get the most important thing is to get a nice even gauge. So as long as your gauge is, you can see mine is pretty tight. And I use the recommended hook, but you might find that the recommended hook is too hard, it's getting too tight and you don't like it. So you can go up a little bit with your hook, or if you find it's too loose, you can go down. But for the bottom, you do want it a little bit tight. So you don't have any holes in it. But just get, I would say it's more important to be comfortable too. So just make it comfortable and consistent.
All right, and then last one for now is when grabbing loops, do we grab all 4 loops or can we just grab 2?
Loops for, I'm confused about the loops. For the magic loop?
They might be talking about when you're crocheting into the previous.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. So the front loop and the back loop, right? So anytime you're looking through a pattern, you're always going to assume that you're going to work through both loops unless it is spelled out in the pattern. So if the pattern says working in the front loop only, whatever, working in the back loop only, whatever, or work a back loop single crochet, blah, blah, blah. If it doesn't say anything, always assume it's through both loops. All right, good questions. I love the questions, so keep them coming. If anybody has any questions about anything, I can do my best to answer those. So now we moved on to this. And what I did was just that formula that we talked about until I actually had 20 single crochets and then an increase and then 20 single crochets and then an increase like that. And the whole time we're working in continuous rounds, as you can see, I'm not joining at all. And this yarn is really fun because it makes these pretty concentric circles. So this is a great yarn for this bag. It's got some nice, makes it pop a little bit. Okay, so now that we did this, I mean, that was all the way up to round 27, right? So now it gets a little bit easier. I'd say this is probably the most challenging part. When you're doing this, you could like accidentally do 19 and then an increase instead of 20. You're going to want to make sure you pull back and fix that if you did do that. So you should always end on you. If you're ending on an increase, then you know you miscounted, or if you counted 19 and you still have a couple stitches left before the marker, then you know you miscounted. So just kind of go back and see where your mistake was and fix it, because you need to have the right stitch count for this.
All right, Liz, we've got a couple people wondering about that awesome grip you have on your hook.
Okay.
Did it come with it? Is it?
Yeah, these are my all-time favorite hooks, and these are by oh, this one looks like the writing probably got worn off by my hands. This is made by Susan Bates. Here we go. You can see that. This is Susan Bates, and it comes with the grip on it. It doesn't come on or off. But these are just a regular inline, I think these ones are called. See, some hooks have this sort of sharper head like that, and some are more rounded. And I think these are called inline, and I forgot what the other ones are called. I don't use those, but it's just a matter of personal preference. So if you like the inline hooks, these Susan Bates with the grips are really good. These just have, I just like the way they feel better.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now I'm back to, I think I finished at round, okay, so what you do after you do all the increases and you've got your circle is you make a few rounds just without any increases, and you'll see as you do those rounds without any increases, it'll start to make its way up like this, and it will no longer be flat. And then you're going to want to do that until you have about 4 inches. So it doesn't matter how many rounds you do, just work about 4 inches up. I'll show you on the, it's kind of hard to see once it's all done, but see how we have probably these were the increases, and then you have a section of 4 inches, which is just worked around and around, and that's what's going to make it like a tube. So let's just say we did that, because I want to show you the chicken foot stitch. So let's just say we did single crochet around and around, and now we're going to do the chicken foot stitch in the round. Make sure you do the one in the round and not in the rows, because of course it's different, right? So to work the chicken foot stitch in the round, we're going to start with, this is my last stitch. So I'm going to work my single crochet, my last stitch. That was from the previous round. Make sure you stay marked too. Don't get rid of your markers, because we're still working in continuous rounds. And then it says we're going to chain one and skip the next single crochet, right? Easy enough. Chain one, skip this single crochet right here, and then single crochet right into the next single crochet under both loops, of course. Chain one, skip the next single crochet, skip the next single crochet, and then it says go back to where the star is, right? So we're just going to go back to where the star is, and then I'm going to repeat that all the way around. So anytime you see that star or that asterisk, that just means you're going to repeat that same set of instructions over and over and over until you get to the end. So all we're doing is chaining one, skipping a single crochet, and single crocheting in the next single crochet. And while I'm doing this, go ahead.
Sorry. Someone would like to know where you would add beads and how.
If you want beads, I guess you could add beads wherever you want. And I don't I don't know, because the pattern doesn't have beads in it, but you could maybe add beads to the tassel. But you can add beads in your crochet whenever you want. That's totally up to you. You can modify things like that with beads. I know you usually use, unless you have like a really big hole in your bead, there's like a special tool that you can get, and you sort of place the bead on it. You just sort of slip it in and then crochet over it. But that's a whole nother class. Beading can get very, I don't think it's hard. I'm sure it's easy, but you need like another special tool. And then you could add them wherever you want, right? So like if you wanted to, I don't know, maybe try to add them in the chain spaces, but with this pattern, you have to consider your pattern, right? With this pattern, we have to work another stitch into that chain space, so it wouldn't necessarily be a good place for a bead. If you haven't done any beading, my recommendation would be to find some patterns that have beads and do those first, and then you can kind of get an idea of where a good bead placement would be, and then you can just sort of modify your own patterns and see if those, if that would work. And I wanted to mention about the, hold on, I just wanted to mention, because on the last person that asked me about the hook, I didn't say that you could get these hooks anywhere, and I meant to say that these are, I'm pretty sure you can get them at Michael's, any of the regular craft stores. These are cheap hooks. This hook's like $2.50. So what I do is when it starts to like chip a little bit, which takes a while, I just buy a bunch and replace them, because they're super inexpensive. They're very comfortable and they're very easy to work with. So these are always my faves. Okay, on to the next question. I'm just doing chain one, skip one, single crochet all the way around. So while I do that, I can answer any questions.
Okay, so this question was, I think somebody would like to make the bottom a different color than the body of the bag. So they're wondering which row that transition happens on.
That would be totally fun. That would be cool to do like a solid on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So you could either stop where your increases stop. So that would be round. My recommendation would be to either do it on round, so end with the solid color on round 26 and then change colors and continue. Or you could even end with the solid color where you start the different stitch pattern, the chicken foot stitch. So that would be just before the upper section. So either of those two places I think would look really cool. But that's also a matter of preference, and you could change your color, wherever you like. But I think that would be how I would do it. And you just change it like you would any other time. Just end the old color and bring in the new color. Hope that answered your question. If we have any other questions, I'm just moving along with chain one, skip one, single crochet all the way around. So this is round one of the chicken foot stitch pattern. The way this pattern is written, you're going to go through the bottom like we talked about with the increases, and then it says work rounds 1 through I think it's 3 in the chicken foot stitch pattern. So then you're going to kind of look back up to under your stitch guide and do the instructions under the stitch, under the chicken foot stitch. So you're going to have to refer back to your stitch guide when you're doing this at a couple different times. So some patterns, a lot of patterns are written that way when you've got kind of a wordy stitch pattern. It'll just say work such and such stitch pattern or work such and such rounds. So then in those cases, you're going to have to refer back to your stitch guide. And with the home cotton, you can totally do the different colors because we have some that are solid colors and some that are not like self-striping like this. So you could do a lot of different fun colorways, make like some fun Christmas presents. Okay, so as you can see, I'm getting to the end of my round here. Now it says to chain one, skip one, all the way around. So if you can see where I'll just give you a little pattern tip. If you can see where the semicolon is there, that's where you should end, right? So you shouldn't end on a single crochet. You should end wherever the semicolon ended. That should be the end of your round. So we should end on a skip one or skip the next single crochet. That's the last thing we should be doing before the marker because that's the last thing before the semicolon, right? So single crochet, chain one, skip one. Okay, I ended in the right place because I have one left before my marker. So I know I ended in the right place. So now we are on to round two. So single crochet in the first single crochet. Okay, we're going to mark that. And then it says chain one, half double crochet 2 together in the next chain one space and single crochet. Okay, so there's my first single crochet. Here's my chain space. It's small, but that's my chain space. And this is my single crochet. So we're just going to go yarn over, insert right into that chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. And then I'm going to yarn over again and work into the single crochet, not the next chain space, but the next single crochet. So yarn over and go under the 2 loops of the single crochet, yarn over, pull up. And now I should have 5 loops on my hook. And then I just pull through all 5 of those. Okay. And then it says chain 1. We're on round 2 now. Chain 1. And then repeat from star. So I did my chain 1 and then I'm going to do my half double crochet 2 together again. And remember, those are worked into the chain space and the single crochet. and chain one. Okay, yarn over again, chain space, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, and single crochet. So you're kind of working the chain space and the single crochet into one stitch, but then you're adding that chain one. So you're not really decreasing. You're working two together and adding one. So you should end up with an even amount, the same, no decreases, the same number of stitches. So chain space, yarn over, single crochet. And don't forget to add your chain one. Yarn over, chain space, yarn over, single crochet, and chain one. Okay, so that's what it should look like. And then we're just going to repeat that all the way around. It says repeat that to the last chain one space, and then you're going to half double crochet two together in the last chain one space and the first single crochet of the previous round. So hopefully I end up in the right spot. Sometimes when I get to talking, I miss a stitch or something, but hopefully we won't. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to do this all the way around. So if anybody has any questions, ask away. And if you need me to repeat anything or go slower, just let me know. I just want to get at least each round of this stitch pattern done, so that way you can see how it's done, because once we do these first 3 rounds, then you're just going to repeat rounds 2 and 3. You're just going to keep repeating that all the way around. Okay, here's my chain space.
Dina would like to know, will you be showing the chicken foot stitch?
Yep, this is it right here. This is all it is. Yep. So it's this is the chicken foot stitch in the round. Just keep an eye when you're going through the pattern, because it's worked in rounds for the body of the bag, and then it's worked in rows for the straps. So of course, when you work in rows, you're turning. When you work in rounds, you're not. So it's the instructions are slightly different. So, but I'm going to show you both. Right now we're working round 2 of the chicken foot stitch in the round. That's where we're at. So yeah, this is it. It's just half double crochet 2 together, chain 1. And remember, we're working the half double crochet 2 together over a chain space and a single crochet. So there's my chain space, there's my single crochet, and chain 1.
There's a couple more questions. So first, how would you make a smaller bag? Would you just stop doing the increase rounds earlier? And
Yeah.
then, yeah,
Totally.
we had another.
You could stop doing them earlier, because because when you're doing these rounds like this, you're increasing, I think it's by 6 each round, right? So every single round is going to be a multiple of 6, because with each round, you're increasing 6 total single crochets. So remember, we did round 2, we increased in each stitch, which was an increase from 6 to 12, and then we increased every other stitch, which was an increased from 12 to 18. So if you can see that pattern, it's a multiple of 6. So really, you can work the chicken foot stitch in any of those rounds because they're a multiple of 6. So as long as you have your multiples right, it will work. So yeah, you could totally make it smaller, just end wherever you like the width, and just go ahead and start to the next part of the pattern.
And then another question that was brought up, and a couple of people expressed interest in learning this. For finishing, would you ever put a zipper? And how would you line it if you wanted to line the bag?
Oh, so to line it, you would have to just sew a liner in there. I haven't done a ton of liners, but the way I've always done it is I just, I don't know how you would do it with this sort of round bit like this. You might have to make a round piece and line the bottom first, and then make like a piece around and line the edges. But I'm probably not the greatest person to answer that question because I don't really sew too much, but yeah, that would just have to be sewn in. So I would ask somebody who's really good at sewing. And a zipper, you could definitely add a zipper, and those come, you know, like packaged. So you just have to sew them on to the edges. But you would have to kind of maybe modify your straps here, right? Because it would make like a weird crease right there. It would fold the strap. So you might have to maybe sew this, or like to add a zipper. But you could also add like another maybe wood thing here to keep this from, because see, this just like goes over, and the weight of it is what keeps it closed. It doesn't really have like a clasp. So you could also add, I don't know, maybe like a big bead that goes like that, so you could secure it more. But yeah, all of those things you would have to kind of modify it a little bit. So just if you can find a long enough zipper, you could probably attach one of those, but you would have to do some modification on your strap, I think. Yeah, but I've added zippers to sweaters and things, but not really, I don't really know a whole lot about sewing. So does Michael's have sewing classes, or is it just, you guys have sewing classes, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so I would look up some more sewing
And
techniques.
I've seen just on boho bags, because they are that sort of round or cylindrical shape.
Mhm.
The liner tends to be only attached at the top. And so it's sort of another bag inside of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
So
mean, there's probably so many different ways you could do it.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we're just doing this chicken foot around, and we're still in round 2, but I'm almost up to the stitch marker. So then we'll work on round 3, and then we're going to do the then we're going to do the little tassel and the strap.
So Lisa is asking, or saying, the chicken foot stitch is a new one for me. Will both sides of the bag look the same, or will I be able to tell which side of the bag is the outside when I'm getting ready to finish it?
When you're working in the round, because we're not turning, you won't really, you're always going to be working on the right side, if that makes sense. So, but sometimes when you move around, you kind of it's easy to get it mixed up. So it's going to look different on the inside, slightly. But you, yeah, you're going to know. See, so this is the wrong side and this is the right side. But because you're not turning, you should always be on the right side anyway. So hopefully you won't, unless you're working and then you kind of see, this is my right side. I'm just going to keep going around and around, and I'm going to stay on the right side. So unless you turn your work inward like this, or you accidentally turn it, like you put it down and pick it up and turn. So yeah, so don't do that. Keep working to the left on the right side. Don't turn your work, and then you won't have a problem with the right and the wrong side. But it'll be a slightly different appearance. I hope that answered the question. Okay, I'm almost at my marker. So let's see, we should be, according to round 2 of chicken foot stitch in the round, it says work from start to the last chain 1 space and then half double crochet 2 together in the last chain 1 space and the first single crochet of the previous round. So that should be right here. So I marked my first single crochet and this is my last chain 1 space. So I'm going to do one more here and then I'm going to do the ending of the instruction, which is chicken foot in the last chain 1 space and the first single crochet of the round.
So we do have a request to see that half double crochet more slowly.
Sure. So we'll do it on the last stitch here. Okay, so here's the chain 1 space. And it's kind of hard to see with the darker color, but there's a chain 1 space and there's the single crochet, the 2 loops of the single crochet. So I'm just going to do a yarn over and insert into the chain 1 space, right? And then pull up a loop. Now I have my 3 loops on the hook, just like a normal half double crochet. And then I'm going to yarn over again and insert into under the 2 loops of the single crochet, which are right here. Yarn over again, and then you should have 5 loops on your hook. And then you just yarn over and pull through all 5. And that's it. And okay, so that was round 2. And now for round 3, this is the last round we're going to do, but of course, the last round that I'm going to show you because you're going to just repeat those previous 2 rounds. Let's mark that last stitch that we did. And then I'm going to do single crochet in the chain 1 space, skip the half double crochet 2 together, chain 1. So that's easy. Here we go, chain 1 space. I'm just going to single crochet, skip this stitch that we did, and chain 1. single crochet the next chain one space, skip this stitch, chain one. So this is kind of, oops, not half double, single. This is kind of putting us back at where we started, where we just have single crochet, chain one all the way around. And then we can do the half double crochet two together, just like we did in this previous round that I just showed you. So this is a quick round. And as you can see, I'm on my right, I'm on the right side of my work. This is the right side of my work. If I held it like this, I'm still working around the right side of my work. As long as you're always working to the left, you should remain on the right side. And providing, of course, you don't turn anything. So we're just doing chain one, single crochet all the way around. And this is quick to do like a granny square because you're working into a chain one space or a chain space rather than working under 2 loops of a stitch. So it's quick. But I want to get around to the next round so I can show you how to do the strap.
So just to make sure, if you're left-handed, you'll be doing the opposite, correct? As far as the direction you're
Yeah,
going? Yeah.
that's what they say, but I've never done anything left-handed, and I've never paid any attention to anything that has to do with left-handed crochet. So, but that's what everybody says, but I've never actually experienced it. However, I know we have a bunch of left-handed, not a bunch, but a few of the left-handed classes, because one of the other creative managers over at Premier, she has done a few classes for left-handed. So you can watch those and get some tips. There's lots and lots of videos and tips out there for left-handed people. But yes, that's what they all say. You just do it the opposite way, which is, to be honest, it's really hard for me to like conceptualize that for some reason. I don't know why. It's just, I don't get it. So I think that's something that anything that you normally do left-handed, like if you're a left-handed crocheter and that's what you normally do, that'll work for this pattern. Yes. If that makes sense. Okay, so all the way around, just with a single crochet, chain one, right? And then back to the start. So now, yeah, we're still not joining. We're still just working in continuous rounds. So now, as you can see, I just made the single crochet, chain one. So now for the next round, you're going to do exactly as we did in round 2. And then you're going to do round 3, round 2, round 3, round 2, and just repeat those 2 rounds, working in continuous rounds without joining and without turning until it probably goes by height, or you may have to count. Let me see if we have to count. Yeah, so for rounds 4 through 17, you're going to do what we just did, and then you're going to end on a round 3. So round 3 is the one we just did, which is single crochet, chain one. And then you are going to single crochet into each of those stitches, right? So let's say we made 17 rounds, repeating these 2 rounds. We're just going to do a single crochet, mark that one, and then a single crochet in the chain space, and then a single crochet in the single crochet, and a single crochet in the chain space, and then do that all the way around. So I'm not going to go all the way around, but I'm going to do a few so I can maybe attach a strap here. So basically we're just getting back to where we started. So we have 156 single crochets. So one in the chain space and one in the single crochet. So for these rounds, for the chicken foot stitch, we didn't do any increasing or decreasing. So we should end up with the same amount of stitches that we started with, 100, which is 156. So if you modified it at all, like you ended, like we discussed earlier about ending it where it's smaller, of course, you're going to want that amount of stitches. So if you ended with 126, at this point, before you put on the straps, you're going to want to have 126, wherever it is you ended at. So take a note of where you ended. If you do modify it and make it smaller, just make a note of how many stitches you ended at. So when you go to put the straps on, you can make sure you have the right amount of stitches. Now, the other thing that's gonna affect it, if you made it smaller, once you put the straps on, because for this pattern, it goes by 156. So you're gonna have to like place the marker. So if you have less stitches, you're going to have to modify that too, right? But that won't be hard. You just kind of have to say, okay, let's say my bag is smaller. I want my straps to be here. I'm just going to choose 11 stitches here to start one strap, and then try to center the closure across from here, if that makes sense. So you're going to have to change that a little bit too if you modified the width of your bag, right? So let's say we have all these single crochets all the way around. So for the finishing, the pattern tells you exactly where to place your markers. And for the marker placement, that's just to tell you where to put your straps, right? So you're going to put your straps, it's going to be like place a marker, skip 11 single crochet, right? So let's say this is my marker, and then I'm going to skip 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to skip those, and I'm going to place a marker there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other side of the strap. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the closure, right? So really, as long as you have 11 single crochet here between two markers and then 11 single crochet across, you could modify it and, change where you put your markers, but just make sure you have 11 and 11. And then I think the closure is 12. So then make sure you have 12 over here. Just count, make sure you have 12 over here to put your closure, and then make sure it's all even, right? So this should go across here because the strap starts here and then it's worked up, up, up. And then all you do is sew it to this side. So really it could be anywhere. It could be anywhere you want it, as long as it's even, as long as there's an even amount of stitches between the straps on either side of the straps, and then the closure is there. So you can see what I'm talking about here. We started here for the strap, and then we just worked that chicken foot in rows, turned rows, and then we worked it, and then we just sewed it to this side, sewed it down. And then in the center there, we did the closure, right? Can you crochet the strap? Yeah, so let me crochet the strap. I've got my little 11 stitches here. So at this point, I think the strap, join yarn. Yeah, so we're gonna do all those single crochets around. I think you have to do a couple rounds of single crochet for the top. See, so you'll do, looks like 4 rounds there. So do those 4 rounds, and then you're going to fasten off that yarn. And then you're going to join a new yarn. With wrong side facing, beginning with either side marked for the strap, join yarn with a slip stitch in the marked stitch. So this is my right side. I'm just going to turn it so I can start at the wrong side. So basically the inside of the bag. And then you're just going to join a brand new strand. So we can just join that with a slip stitch. Not in the marked stitch. Remember, we did 11 in between. So we're going to do the next stitch just next to the marker and join with a slip stitch. And then it says work the chicken foot stitch in the 11 single crochet marked for the first half of the strap. Okay, so now we're going to do chicken foot stitch, which is not the same as the one in the round. So we're just going to single crochet. So let's do, actually, let's join it at the marked stitch. And that will just be a slip stitch. That won't be a stitch. So we're going to join it with a slip stitch. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to skip the next single crochet. Remember, I'm working sort of on the inside because it said to start on the wrong side of your work. And then skip 1 and single crochet. So we're just going to do that in those 11 stitches, right? So make sure I have 11. It's my slip stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, skip that one, 9, chain 1, skip that one, 10 and 11. So the 11 is where the marked stitch is, right? So I should have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Because my slip stitch doesn't count. Okay, so now that's row 1, and then we're just going to turn. Right, so now I'm back on the right side of my work. Chain 3. I always chain before I turn, but 1, 2, 3. Okay, that counts as my half double crochet and a chain 1. And then we're going to half double crochet 2 together in the next chain 1 space and the single crochet. So here's the chain 1 space, and we're going to do exactly as we did it before, where we do yarn over, insert into the chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, and then go into the single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, right? So I have 5, yarn over, pull through all 5. And then we're gonna chain 1 and do that across. So it's very similar to how we did it in the round, right? Chain 1 and then yarn over to make my half double crochet 2 together. Yarn over again into the single crochet, yarn over, 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 5. And don't forget to do the chain 1 to keep it even. Yarn over, insert into the chain space, yarn over again into the single crochet, yarn over, pull through 5 and chain 1. So we're just going to do that to the end. And there's my last single crochet. Okay, so that's row 2. Now we're going to turn your work, because remember, now we're working in rows, so we're just going to keep turning after each row. And now I'm back on the wrong side of my work. So then I can do chain one, single crochet in the half double crochet two together, and single crochet in the chain one space. Okay, so we're going to chain one, and now we're going to single crochet in that very first stitch that I did. I don't know if I chained or not, but I'm supposed to chain one first, and then single crochet in the chain one space, which is right here. And then skip the half double crochet. Okay, so then we're going to skip the half double crochet two together, and then single crochet in the chain one space. Chain one. So we need that row just like the first row, right? We need it to be just that chain one, single crochet. So skip the half double crochet two together, single crochet in the chain one space, chain one, skip the half double crochet two together, and what does she want us to do at the end? Single crochet in the second chain of the chain three. Okay, so there's my.
Before we sign off, someone was wondering if they could see your sample for the bag.
Yep. So, oh, I didn't realize it was so late. So see, we just did what we did on the wrong side, right? So the wrong side, and then you turn it and do the half double crochets two together, and then you just keep going back and forth with those two rows. So you just repeat those two rows all the way till you get your strap like this, right? So here's my sample. And if you guys need to go, feel free to go, but I did want to show you how to work around this ring, but it'll just take me a minute if you want to stay. I don't mind staying and showing you that. Here's my sample. It's kind of hard to see. So starts out at the bottom, work up, work up. There's the chicken foot, and here's the little closure that we added on, and that just gets sewn on, okay? There's the strap. So you do the strap just like I just told you with the two rows, and keep working those two rows, and then you just sew the strap onto the other side. And let me show you, where's my other one here? Let me just show you how I work around this ring, so you know how to do that. So you have your little wooden ring, and then you're going to start with your slip knot on your hook, okay? Like you always do. And then we're going to work a single crochet right around that ring. So I just go into the ring, grab the yarn, and now I have 1, 2 loops on my hook, and then I just pull through those 2 loops. So that's one. And then you're going to go into the ring, grab your yarn. You're going to have to give it some slack and pull it up, pull through the 2 loops.
So we have a question. When you're saying sewing, is that the same thing as using the needle or the hook to weave the ends on projects, or does it require like thread and a sewing needle?
No, you just sew it on with your yarn. So if you've ever done like any type of seaming, if you've made a sweater and you seaming, so you're like seaming the arms on, or you're seaming the panels together, you just seam that on with your yarn needle and your yarn, just like a mattress stitch or a whip stitch, back stitch, any way you want to seam it on. You could probably even slip stitch it on if you really wanted to. Here's how it looks. See, you can kind of choose which way you want to do that. So yeah, that's all we do to make the ring. See how I just made those single crochets around it? So you're going to do 12 of those, and then you're going to go chain 1 and then work into each one of those single crochets. And work single crochets. And then you're just going to repeat that around until you have like a nice little row for your closure. So you basically just work right into that ring, just like you would a magic ring or something. So then you just keep turning until it looks like this. See, I started out with the single crochets. I went back and forth, made a little strap, and then I just seamed that right onto the bag. And then you just add the tassel to the other side of your ring. So I would just add the tassel right here. And of course, the instructions are in there. You just take a cardboard, you wrap your yarn around it, and then you cut it, and you just wrap a little. There's tons of videos on this. You cut it, wrap it around there, and then wrap another piece around here. Okay. And that's how you make the tassel. So super easy. Sorry, I went over a little bit longer. I hope everybody enjoyed this video, and I hope you at least got some little tips and tricks out of this, but this is a free pattern. It's in the link in the chat, and you can also go over to Premier Yarns. We have tons of free patterns over there. And you can rewatch this video if you need to go back and rewatch it. So thank you everybody for joining me today. Sorry, I went over a little bit, but I hope you enjoyed the class.
Thanks so much, Liz. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, guys.